You're listening
to the CD Baby
CD Baby
DIY
Musician
Podcast.
Hey there, and welcome to episode number 66 of the CD Baby DIY Musician Podcast. My name is Kevin, and joining me are Chris and Robert for this Roundtable edition. Hey guys.
Hello.
Yay, we're back.
My first question is it the record button?
Is the record on? It's red, and
okay.
Let me check.
Does it look like it's...
The numbers are going.
The numbers are going.
So
right, we're live.
We think we're recording. It has been a while since we've podcasted, and we've been busy with summer and some of the launch at CD Baby, and we did try to record a podcast last week, as many of you were saying how much you missed us, which is very appreciative and made us feel good.
And something happened.
So
what happened?
We talked for about an hour.
Yeah, so we talked about an hour with the mics. We thought were live, and it turns out...
It turns out we're just having a good conversation.
Yeah, it was just a good time hanging out in my office. So... we're going to try it again, so this may be just another practice run, or it may be the real deal. Who knows what we'll get. So what's been going on with you guys?
Well, last week when we were, supposedly recording, it was 105 degrees, and now it's chilly and gloomy
degrees,
outside.
Yeah, what the heck?
It's back to Portland.
I've been producing a record for this band called Little Beirut. That's been fun.
Yeah, you did their last record, right?
Yeah, this is right now we're sort of more in the pre-production stage, just arranging songs and going over parts and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun.
And
My band's, we're still kind of putting our set list together, and we've got about 6 or 7 songs that we can play, and we're trying to add on to that, and we're working on our first cover song, which is Heart of Glass by Blondie.
Oh, cool. Do you guys do the 7/4 part?
We were just talking about that. I don't know if we're going to do that or not.
You got it. That's the best part of the song.
Yeah, maybe that. It's going to be a folkier version of Heart of Glass.
But I did go to your first show in a long time, a couple weeks ago. That was good.
And my band played a show that nobody went to. But we knew that would be the case.
And you got paid way more than
we got paid well. It was put on by a little city that's outside it's kind of in the Portland metro area, but... it reminded me of a couple things. One, that it's always good to, be in contact with like city council members and city people, because they don't know anything about music, but they like to put on events. And when they contacted us, it was really like, okay, it sounded more like we'd be playing like a farmer's market, but they were paying us really well. So we're like, we're going to do it. We're in the middle of recording. It'll help us pay for some more recording time, and that'll be good. We got there, and it was this massive stage. I mean, it was like the real festival stage. The whole setup for the event was great. And that's when it really hit me, boy. If I had known this, I would have told them that the time they're having us play at, no one's going to be here, because it was 5:30 on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah,
and
everybody goes home first
after
work.
And they had a bigger headliner named... bigger from the 80s, Quarter Flash. They're from Portland. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have them playing till 8 because they needed like extra time for them to set up. But it still ended up being too much time. We could have gone on later. But it ended up being something where, the other thing it reminded me of, the first to recap, was that you should know city people that put on events in the city, because they have budgets, they have money, and they have no knowledge usually of who's good and who's not. And
so if maybe you were paid through bailout
you
money.
Should always
the funny thing was
the
they
city.
They emailed us. We realized that our website went to a different email than what we had been using. And they emailed us and finally got through by a friend of a friend, and like, we've been trying to hunt you guys down. We hear you're the band to get. And I'm like, there's like a bazillion bands in Portland, and you had no other option than us. We didn't even have an album out. And so...
And you guys didn't write them back for like 3 months, right?
Yeah, it was.
They still waited for you, though.
They did. But so it was one of those things where obviously this person... somebody told them, hey, you should get these guys, and they don't know anybody else. And
apparently they don't know how to Twitter.
Apparently not. But so it just reminded me, cities have budgets and they don't have knowledge of the scene. So if you introduce yourself to them and find out who those people are, chances are you can get some good paying gigs every once in a while. And secondly, that there was nobody there, but we got some great video footage and some great photos that make it look like we're a real band on a big stage when you can't tell there's no crowd there. Maybe I'll Photoshop some people in.
You know what you should do for the video too is just add a little bit of ambient crowd noise from like a live CD that you have.
That's a good idea. There was one thing I did, because you'd mentioned cover songs, Robert, and we had worked up a cover song of Space Oddity by David Bowie, and it came out pretty good, and the video portion was good, the sound was great, and a lot of people get, like we say, get attention for themselves on YouTube by posting their version of a cover song. So I put that up there on YouTube. And there was one scene where whoever was operating the camera, probably my wife, half the time I'd look out and notice that she wasn't even really looking at where she was pointing the camera. She's just holding it out to the side. But at one point, the camera just kind of drops to the ground and you see that there's nobody there. So I put this negative effect on just that portion so it distract people and not so they'd be more like, what the heck just happened, instead of noticing that nobody was there. A little trickery. But anyway,
Puppet show and Hello Morning.
So I thought, even if you're doing a show that there's nobody there, there's still good content you can generate for the web, because we really haven't been promoting shows, and that one was $10 to get in, and so we knew that our crowd wasn't going to make it there at 5:30 and pay $10,
And always be thinking about that when you're playing shows. When you're producing an album, think about documenting it for web content. I mean, it's a great way to add stuff to your website and your MySpace and your blog and everything else. Like to take pictures and like you said, like even though there wasn't an audience, now you have something that you can market yourself with.
And there was some really good video footage. So I'm kind of putting together sort of like an EPK type video that just kind of introduces the band, and there was some really good footage there that will fit in and make for more of a legitimate looking package. And
another thing to think about, and I can't remember if I'm sure we've talked about this before, but how great it is to get pictures of your audience. Obviously you didn't have an audience there.
We got pictures. It was my daughter, Peter's daughter, everyone else's daughter, or Peter's son, I should say. Yeah. Peter doesn't have a daughter. But Ben's daughter.
If you do have one of those shows where you have a big turnout, or you're opening for a band that has a big draw, take a camera on stage with you and get a picture of the screaming fans looking up at you guys, because that's a great way to sort of show that you have a fan base and that you care about them.
Well, it's also one of those tips that Derek has had for years, Derek, the founder of CD Baby, of to take pictures of the audience, because not only is it kind of show that, there's people there, but it gets those people excited to go look at the photos, because there I am. People love looking at pictures of themselves. So
that must have been who I stole it from. It's probably from Derek.
He probably got it from you. But for what we're working on, having ongoing content that's outside of performances is going to be a pretty big part of what we're doing, just because all of us have full-time jobs and kids, and we're not going to be touring the nation unless something really big happened. All right, well, let's get into some news.
CD Baby.
CD Baby. Music. News.
With Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and all the other social networking sites growing rapidly, it's not too surprising that, on the whole, the number of social networking users has doubled in 2007. Specifically, 55.6 million adults, or just less than 1/3 of the population in the U.S. now visit social networks at least monthly. According to a new report from Forrester Research, that's up from just 15% of adults in 2007 and around 18% last year. At that level, social networking is now more popular than instant messaging among adults, which 54.3 million people report using. However, watching video online, shopping, and email, contrary to other reports, are still more widely used than social networks. Apple and the 4 major label groups are reportedly collaborating on an interactive album bundle that would add additional content like liner notes, lyrics, videos, and more to every album download. Codenamed Cocktail, it's all about recreating the heyday of the album when you would sit around with your friends looking at the artwork while you're listening to the music. One executive familiar with the initiative told Financial Times. It's not just a bunch of PDFs. There's real engagement with the ancillary stuff. But the new format may come with a hefty price. Cocktail's full interactivity appears to be designed to be part of a new top-secret tablet computer entertainment hub that Apple is rushing to market to compete with the rest of the mini book, a laptop boom. In addition to Cocktail, the web-connected device would also offer a rival to Amazon's Kindle book reader, as well as play videos and perform other computing functions. Expect to see this new Cocktail sometime this fall. The saga over internet radio royalties may be behind us for now, but royalty debate is far from over. During a recent Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, the record labels and radio stations made their case over the issue of terrestrial radio stations paying royalties to artists, hoping to influence senators' decision over the recent proposed Performance Rights Act. Under the current setup, commercial radio stations don't actually pay to performers anything for the use of their songs. Radio stations pay only songwriters for the music they play, while recording artists get nothing except publicity. When music is delivered via webcasting, cable networks, and satellite radio, however, station owners need to pay both songwriters and recording artists. And those were some of the headlines.
So wait, just a bill was proposed. Nothing's actually happened?
No, they're lobbying at this point.
Okay.
I mean, there's been we've talked previously on the podcast, there's lots of legislation pending that's supposed to happen in this year for copyright issues here in America. So basically what has happened over the years, and I think we've mentioned this previously, but it's been a long time, that, they always, like in examples, people always mention Britney Spears. Somebody at that magnitude who gets that massive amount of radio airplay, or specifically for artists, it affects artists that don't write their music. They're not getting any money for their performance that's being replayed over and over again. Just the songwriter and publisher are getting money.
Right.
And that may be somebody totally unrelated to the artist.
Right.
I think Bob Dylan's music is a good example. A lot of his songs became popular by other people recording them, but he still got all the money, where they were the ones that really helped, their version really propelled that song to what it was.
Right.
With internet radio, that's where Congress decided, okay, this is a new frontier, we're going to fix it here, but they decided not to go back and fix it for terrestrial radio.
Now, do you think they're asking for terrestrial radio? Do you think they're asking for more money, or they're just asking to split the royalties?
It's a good question. I don't see ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC accepting less money.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I was going to say the publishers are probably going to be doing some serious lobbying of their own.
Yeah, it's going to get ugly, and I think the people that are going to lose in the end of the radio stations, and it's my opinion that this will be kind of like the last draw for terrestrial broadcast radio that's music, because talk radio is still huge, and sports radio and things like that, but music itself, radio has seen a huge decline. With the decline of their listenership, and then you make them pay even more license fees, it'll just probably be the last straw. Plus, an organization would have to be set up in order to handle those. Right now, Sound Exchange is set up to handle that for the internet and streaming and stuff, but there's no body that has been empowered by Congress to collect these royalties, so someone would have to be set up to do that. So.
Right.
With the social networking thing, I bet most of those new users are parents spying on their children.
Probably so. But, speaking of Twitter, I'm going to pose this question for you, our listeners, to call our listener line and give some feedback, or you can email us. But I've noticed an incredible drop-off of the Twitter output, both for myself, mainly because of summer and being so busy with some other things, but also from a lot of the people I follow. It used to be like all the artists I followed that most of you are listening, there'd be a pretty good stream every day of content coming down Twitter and interesting stuff, and I've noticed that stream get very thin. I'm just curious if it's just summer and you're busy, or if you're just kind of like had it with Twitter. You can call our listener line at 206-426-5683 and give us your feedback on that, because the news and the media can't stop talking about it. Everywhere I go, people talk about it. And on this podcast, apparently, we talk about it constantly. There was an interesting article I saw that I'll put a link to in the show notes for this episode that was talking about, the title was something like, "Did you kill your Twitter account?" And I think a lot of artists probably have done just that by kind of having the MySpace friend mentality when following people. It's like, I'm going to follow a bazillion people and they'll all follow me back and then they'll know about my music. And I think, that's only half of the usage of Twitter, having people follow what you're blabbing about. You can't underestimate the whole aspect of actually interacting with the people that you're following. And I think that's really important, because it's probably more beneficial to have 100 people following you and you following them and really interacting with them than to have thousands of people that don't care, because it's just a little blip on their screen of 1,000 different people coming through. So
I enjoyed it a lot more when I was just starting, like that first couple days, and there was maybe 30 friends. So then some of them I didn't even know, but the fact that I kept seeing their tweets, I was like, oh, I'm starting to sort of know these people.
Yeah.
And then now I've got, hundreds of friends. It's too hard to keep up with what they're doing. And
Yeah, I like being able to, like when I first started out, I followed some professionals that I was interested in following what they were saying about things like, media and social networking and stuff like that. And some of those posts, which are really interesting and links to interesting blogs and stuff like that, do get a little bit buried in some of the other people that I've been following, and I just need to go through and unfollow some of those poor souls who I'm not interested in.
So I'll post a link to that article. It had a whole bunch of advice about it. It was basically telling people to start over with Twitter. Start a new account and do it right this time. So let's talk a little bit about, let's move on and talk a little bit about the last episode. When
If
was
you can
that?
remember that
Was that in
far
2008? Yeah. We talked to Matthew Ebel. Heard all about how he does live concerts on Ustream. And definitely a really cool thing that I think is going to be a big part of what artists do in the future. And definitely people should check it out and try it out. What were your guys' impressions of Ustream?
freaked me out at first.
Really?
To see him performing while also he's in his basement or his garage or something like that. There's no one around, but yet he's, quote unquote, interacting with his fans by he'll be in the middle of a song and then he's reading these, what they're not tweets, but they're like instant messages or something on his computer screen while he's singing, and man, that's a lot of multitasking going on.
Well, now if you pay like a feed, you get like a private chat room with him.
No, there's no fees. Every time you stream, it has a chat for that stream, a live chat room. So
Right.
So
It didn't freak me out in the sense of creeping me out. It was just sort of I couldn't
the idea of an
believe-
artist having to pull that off.
Yeah, it was.
Well, I mean, that's the one thing I hadn't really thought about until you just mentioned it, was the idea that he does put on a good performance as if he's playing to people live, but yet the room's empty.
Mm-hmm.
And he does do a very good job of, managing the audience and putting on a performance as if they were in the front row. Like he says, it's like everyone's there in the front row and you're communicating with them.
Oh, I wonder if he has hecklers, digital hecklers.
Yes, he does.
And he just ignores them.
Did
Did he talk about that in the interview?
He did a little bit, but in one of the shows that I saw, it actually became a problem. And he mentions that you have friends, be moderators or bouncers or whatever they're called.
Whoa, bouncers.
And yeah, you could be a bouncer.
Virtual
Chris.
bouncer.
That's right.
Wow, that's my new job title, I think.
So people can, they're assigned and they're kind of monitoring the stream while you're playing, and they can get people out of there. So sometimes people will come in and just be obnoxious for the sake of being obnoxious.
Wow, that's so weird that you would spend time watching a live stream video and just to heckle. But I guess it's the same reason why people go to
a live
go
show.
to a live show and heckle.
Yeah, like Chris had a heckler at our show.
First time in my life in April, we had a heckler at our tour homecoming. It was such a bummer. I mean, it wasn't wasn't too damaging or anything. I was like, wow,
They do exist.
it was upsetting.
And if you have stories,
Isn't that what the internet's for? Go heckle on the internet.
No.
Now,
Go
if
to
any of our
Matthew
audience-
Ebel's concert. Heckle him, not me.
Well, he's got bouncers. They'll take care of you.
Any of our audience has a good story about a heckler, we'd love to hear it on our phone line.
That's true, yeah. Heckler story is always accepted. Yeah, I think it's something that, artists should definitely check into.
Heckling.
And, heckling. Heckling. No, Ustream. We're talking about Ustream. Because I think it's going to be more important if you can master that. I mean, you look at what Matthew's doing on an average week, he's playing to 100 or even up to like 300 and some people. And that's more than what he would probably do, doing some traveling to places that, cities he's never been to before. And you have no expenses. Obviously, if you're going to take some music to a certain level, you're going to have to get out of your town and travel.
Right.
But this is a great way to help build a fan base. And, he did some thing that talked about how you can put overlays so people can sign up for your email list or link to buy your music and all that. So it's a great tool, and it is different than just streaming a YouTube video.
Yeah.
It was weird when I logged in and started trying to talk, and he answered me back. I'm like, oh my gosh, the internet just talked to me.
Now it's interesting. Like, part of me is like, I don't know if I could sit through a whole concert watching it on my computer. If that would be something I'd want to do as a fan. But
if you were drinking and had some cigarettes, though,
maybe,
at
yeah,
your desk.
and some friends around and stuff. One thing does seem cool is I know that a lot of times you have people who live far away from you, and if you're not doing real touring, they may not never get a chance to see a live show, except maybe captured by video. And this is a more interactive, way to actually see live music.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what its usefulness is. And your concerts don't have to be an hour and a half. They
Right.
can be 30 minutes. They can be really short. Somebody I interviewed for the podcast, who might be the next episode, Allison Weiss, she does a lot of Ustream type things, and I think her things are a little shorter than what Matthew does. Like, Matthew does a solid hour. But yeah, it's totally unrestricted. You can do whatever you want. Do something short and sweet, do something long and boring, or whatever.
It doesn't have to be music related. You could just juggle.
You could juggle.
You could juggle for an hour and a half.
Or one thing I thought
It'd be
about.
hard to type back to people, though.
Yeah.
One thing I thought about trying, it was setting up a computer and you streaming while we're in the studio. Just
Yeah.
letting people just put it on and look at us play and argue, and it might be interesting. It might be a total failure, but those kind of things. It doesn't just have to be a concert. Letting people in on the experience.
I just thought of that, me being in the studio and being totally freaked out that someone's watching me sing out of tune while I'm doing a vocal take.
I'd be more concerned about them seeing you whip your studio musicians for.
No, that I would want them to see. That's kind of like building the myth, But
But if you're out there listening and you're doing some Ustream shows, please give us a link to it or some info about when you're doing them, if you're doing them on a regular basis. On the show notes for this episode, go to cdbabypodcast.com. It'll be episode 66. Put it in the comments section, and we'll check it out. All right, let's get into some of your phone calls.
CD Baby Podcast.
Message line 206-426-5683.
The number you have dialed
206-426-5683.
Hey, Kevin, my name is Lane. I'm calling from San Francisco. I'm a songwriter. I'm also the founder of Bird Music in San Francisco. I caught the podcast and have been really enjoying listening to it. So thanks. I'm also do sell my stuff on CD Baby, and I've been surprised with the results actually of some of the sales that I get. A lot, mostly from people I don't know, and it's kind of nice. Anyway, here's a story for you. I made a CD, my first CD. I hand painted 2,000 covers in an effort to personalize it in hopes that it would sell, and it did. And I sent it off to radio, and there's a local station here called KFOG. I sent it to KFOG, and when I personalized it, I painted these things by hand because I went to the record stores. I looked around, and I thought I'll never compete as an independent artist. So that might be something of note to a lot of other artists out there. It's a good way to go. Anyway, I sent my CD to the radio station. They played my song. I was listening when they played it, and they couldn't announce any of the name of the song. They said they guessed that the song was called Remind Me because I hadn't added any song titles or any information whatsoever at all to the CD when I sent it. I sent them a letter, but it wasn't attached. And And people have given me, many demos over the years like that. And I often see this mistake that I made, so many years ago. And it's just, I thought it was just kind of funny to hear them basically, say on the air what an idiot this guy was. Great song, but, he doesn't know what he's doing. So anyway, I thought you might like to hear the story. And again, I've been enjoying the podcast. Thanks, man. Bye.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Zero from Zero for Hire on the CD Baby, and I just started listening to you guys' podcast. It's really informative and giving me a lot of information. I just want to tell you guys, great job. I also noticed that you kind of like goofy stories that highlight, somewhat like mistakes or something like that. So I wanted to give you guys a story. Last week, I got the chance to enter some of my music into a Battle of the Bands. Unfortunately, it was for a rock station, and I didn't intend to put it in. The guy just calls and says, hey, you want to be in a Battle of Bands? And I'm like, well, he's got the CD anyway. Yeah, sure, why not? I do pop music, kind of like Michael Jackson style pop music. So to have pop on a hard rock station, I thought it would be pretty funny anyway. On top of that, it's a Christian style pop music. And so when we go to vote, and tell all our friends to go to vote, they're looking at the top of the page, and they're like, this guy's page says Satan on it. So this is like hardcore, like Rob Zombie style stuff. I just thought it was pretty cool to get complete opposite music on there. Of course, we lost by a landslide, and, it was just an experience. So I just want to give you guys that story. If there's any kind of lesson involved, it's definitely make sure you're entering the right genre of music in the Battle of the Bands. All right, guys. Love the podcast. Bye.
Well, thanks for those 2 calls. We have some more calls coming up later, but we wanted to talk about these. First off, Lane, with the handmade albums. I think that's a great idea. Painting them.
It is a great idea.
Super cool idea. And I think that's one way that artists can get people more interested in buying the physical product and even creating a product that even costs more than an average CD. But yes, it is a good tip.
Yeah, and that's funny that he found out while listening to the radio.
I'm surprised they even played it, and that it must be really good music if they were willing to play it and not even know what it was.
But I would like to reiterate because I've done a run with my band of handmade albums, that it really adds value to them, to the point where if they look nice, people are willing to take them as much as I'm sure they love the music. Like, I think that something that looks nice on your shelf has this kind of value that a CD in a jewel case just doesn't have.
Yeah, I think it's a cool idea. Anytime you can add a personal touch to it, I think people are more willing to lay down the money for it because they feel like they're getting a piece of the band, not just something that was mass-produced, And the other caller, I believe his name was Zero, he mentioned the Battle of the Bands, and it was kind of a humorous story, but definitely a good point that if you're entering any sort of contest, or you really need to make sure that you fit what they're looking for.
I always love those stories, the sort of the clash of genres or the clash of cultures. That reminded me of that story a few weeks ago of the Wiccan Music Festival that was next to the Christian Music Festival.
That was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So let's, we got a couple more calls. Let's get into those.
Hi, Kevin. My name is Monty Harper. I'm from Stillwater, Oklahoma. I'm a longtime listener, and I'm a children's musician. And I'm songwriting partner with your buddy, Mr. Billy, who has made a couple of comments on previous shows. He's the one who sold his CD to Santa Claus. Anyhow, your recent conversation about Twitter made me think to call in. I think I may have come up with a whole new way to use Twitter, and I wanted to share it with your listeners. So my idea required me to start a new Twitter account separate from my main one. And all you need for that is a unique email address. So that was easy to set up through HostBaby. And if you're not on HostBaby, just check with your ISP on how to set up a new email alias account. And then what I was able to do with my new email, I set up a new Twitter account. I called it Monty Quotes. And the only thing that I post to it are quotes from my clients about my live shows. Every show I do, I email the person who hired me afterwards, and I ask for their feedback through an online form. I make sure to get their permission to use their name, and then I post their feedback to my Monty Quotes Twitter account. Now, you're probably thinking that's crazy. Who would follow a Twitter account that's just quotes about your shows? And nobody would, but that's irrelevant. I don't care if I get followers, because what I do with the Monty Quotes account is I integrate it into my website. So visitors looking at my school programs or library program information on my website will see a little sidebar that shows the last 5 or so tweets from my Monty Quotes Twitter account. And I also include a link to the Twitter page that says, click here to see what people are saying, and then they can go and read all the quotes. It's super easy to update, and so my latest feedback is always just automatically right there available for potential clients to read. And it's easy to integrate your Twitter feed into your website, so I'll talk about that real quickly. From the Twitter page, you click on Help, and then search down for the heading, Can I put Twitter updates on my blog? And under that, you click the words Twitter badge, and you'll see some different blog choices. And if you're putting this onto your own website, rather than one of the blogs that are listed, just click Other. My partner, Mr. Billy, and I, we have a new children's CD out. It's called Let's Get Creative, and we started a similar Twitter feed for that too, just for news and reviews about the CD. And in that case, I have been trying to get followers because the CD is for librarians. It fits the summer reading program theme, so we've been searching for Be Creative at Your Library, and then following people who are doing that summer program because we figured they'll be interested in the CD. So if you want to see my Monty Quotes Twitter feed or the Be Creative Songs Twitter feed in action, you can check them out at www.montyharper.com. Thanks for the great podcast. I look forward to your podcast every week, and it really has helped me shape my thinking about how to proceed with my own career in the digital age. So keep up the great work, and thank you so much.
Kevin, this is Armando Peredia again from Riverside, California, and I was just thinking about, you should do a gear show. That would be great. That'd be awesome. But you could do like a show dedicated to like vocals at home through your computer, your laptop. You know, what vocal preamps. You could do like a guitar show. You could do an amp show, pedal show, boutique pedal show, boutique amp show. You could do all kinds of stuff. You guys should like focus, do like a gear focus every now and then. Like have a segment called Gear Focus. And then maybe like on your website or something, if you had like that, like a gig swapping forum for bands, you know, that'd be awesome if you did the gig swapping thing forum for bands. That'd be really cool. You know, you guys brought that to my attention, and I'm sure a lot of people think about it and have thought about it, but, I mean, yeah, MySpace is obvious, but, you know, it's not always obvious because bands don't always check their MySpace, you know? If there was, like, a place they could go and they know, like, okay, I'm going to go here because I'm trying to get a tour set up, I can definitely do this on CD Baby, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, sorry I'm running my mouth. Robert, you're super handsome. Freaking great, bro. All right.
Thanks for those calls, and Monty is using Twitter in a way that I referenced at the beginning of the show, that there's all sorts of ways to use Twitter outside of just, you know, the normal usage. And this is a good idea where he's using it to auto-populate his website. It's not a feed that people are going to subscribe to and follow, but Twitter is really, at its core, just basically RSS feeds. And it's real easy to create cool things like this that will auto-populate. They automatically show the most recent, and it does a lot of, you know, some of the web lifting for you.
You know, this weekend I came across another unique use of Twitter. I was at a coffee shop, and they have a little shack out in the back of the coffee shop where they're making fresh donuts. So I was asking the guy, I was like, so I can order a donut here, and then you'll just tell the guy back there. And he's like, oh, yeah, no, I just type it in this thing. He was typing it into Twitter, and then the guy back there had a little computer or an iPhone that would pop up on Twitter like 2 chocolate donuts.
That's interesting.
That's unique, but that seems like more complicated. Then why not just put up Instant Messenger or something?
I know, or just throw something across the...
I have heard of, the office IT people setting up their coffee pots so when they go empty to send out a Twitter message to everyone in the office.
Oh my gosh.
And so everyone in the office, you know, follows that Twitter feed and it tells them, hey, go make some coffee. Or they know that there's a fresh pot too. So
right.
I've seen it where so everyone goes on a coffee break because they know there's fresh coffee. So there's all sorts of cool things you can do, and I think that was a good idea that Monty had to get quotes from people that had brought him in, because that's one thing when especially for certain genres. I believe Monty's does kids music like that. They like to get recommendations, know that people have used them before, and so he has an easy feed that they can check out that has all that information for them. And then the last caller called about the gear show. I think it's a good idea. We're looking to do something like that. Maybe talk a little bit about some guitar effects, maybe recording gear. We attempted that in the past.
And if we're happy to do gear reviews, if anyone makes nice boutique
anyone wants to send us
pedals,
anything.
send
That's
some
right.
stuff in to Chris Robley.
No, that's Kevin Bruner.
Robert Bolton.
But seriously, if you do send something in, make sure to address it
to
to
one of us.
because if it just goes to the warehouse,
It'll be on eBay before we ever know it was here. But seriously, Darren Riley in the UK and Chad from the Dundies, both of you I know make boutique pedals. Chad's are very nice and very expensive, and I'm very poor. So
And we're not afraid of doing plugs.
No.
We'll talk the heck out of your pedal if you send us
our
one.
opinions, our good opinions, are easily bought.
That's
So.
right. That's right. And we're upfront about that at least. but no, seriously, we're looking into doing some gear related shows. It'll probably happen maybe a couple times over the fall. We'll give it a shot and test some things out. I know I would listen.
And before we go, I just wanted to mention one thing.
What is it, Robert?
As you know, you guys, I work for Host Baby with the sister company of CD Baby. And if you don't have a website, we have a lot of great services. And even if you do have a website, we may have more services and most probably better customer service than the web hosting company you're using currently. And we're musicians for musicians. And I just wanted to let you know that that's out there and available. We have lots of cool features, gig calendars, streaming music,
Email list manager,
email, your own domain name, tons of cool templates, blog features. So give us a try. The first month is free, and give us a call or an email, hostbaby@hostbaby.com, and we'd be glad to show you what we got going on.
Are you working on commission over there?
No. I just
mention Robert's name, and they'll say who.
Mention Robert Bolton, and you'll get a no. It is a great service, and many of our listeners actually are on Host Baby, and I believe Monty said he's a Host Baby user.
Excellent.
And so, yeah, it's cool. It's laid back. It's they take care of you over there. I say we because we're in the same building.
Right.
And you're just down the hall.
You guys set me up with my WordPress blog.
That's right. You guys are whiz at WordPress. So if you want a fancy WordPress blog, they'll hook you up. He's nodding his head. That means yes.
Yes, we'll do that. And whatever else you want, just mention it. We'll figure it out.
All right. Well, that's going to do it this time. I just want to remind everybody that you can call us at 206-426-5683. And it's on the website, cdbabypodcast.com, where you can leave show notes. You can leave a comment in the show notes. So, but we've missed chatting with you guys. It's been great hearing from y'all on Twitter that, where's my podcast? Well, hopefully
It's nice to be missed.
It's nice to be missed.
We're back.
We're back, baby. So, and you can also email us at info@cdbabypodcast.com, and we'll catch you next time. Hopefully that'll be
You've been listening to the CD Baby DIY Musician Podcast, broadcasting from Portland, Oregon, USA.